Welcome back to an episode of the Overseas Mosaic. This is the show where you get to hear from students who are studying at the top universities globally, get to hear their experiences, get to know what life is like at these top universities. Today I'm joined by one of our students, Smakshi Tikku. Smakshi did her graduation from India in bachelor's from Ambedkar University. And of course, she had the smattering of internships, but she also worked just to get a sense of what work life is all about. She then followed her passion, which was to pursue her master's in psychology, for which she moved to the UK. And we're going to hear from Smakshi what life was while in college and what she's doing after that. Welcome, Smakshi, and thank you so much for taking out time to be with us on the Overseas Mosaic.
Hi, Mandeep. Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you, and it's been a long time. I would say my journey has been some sort of a roller coaster, and I think every other student would relate to me in some sort of way because I feel
Correct.
after coming from India, where we are, been living with our parents in a very protected environment, is quite difficult to leave your entire life the way you've been going and then just completely go to another country where where you're new to all the people, different cultures, there's diversity, and sometimes there's always like anxiety about what's going to happen next, and this constant fear of around safety, because in India we always are in a protected environment. And I
True.
feel like when I came here, I was obviously very anxious and nervous as a student, whether I'll be able to settle, whether I'll be able to make friends. Networking is a key part, I feel. And I
True.
was just in I was just in like two minds. What should I do? So I think I remember my first day of college.
Well,
And
Smakshi, before that, let's take it step by step. You mentioned you were anxious, you were nervous. I remember many conversations with your mother as well. And I'm sure she also had a lot of concerns or she was unsure how things would go. So why don't we just start with the period when you'd secured your admission till the
mm,
time that you actually went? I'm sure there
mm,
would have been lots of conversations between mom and you. Anything that really sticks out as to some advice that she gave you, कि बेटा आप बाहर जा रहे हो types. And similarly, you would have perhaps told mom, कि mom, now you'll also be staying alone.
exactly.
I'm sure you were also worried, anxious for her as well. So just a brief on that, uh, something that brings a smile to your face about about that period.
I think this was the first time I was going to be staying away from my mom. It was a really big thing for me because I've always been like very close to my mom, and obviously after my father passing away, my mom has been like my constant support and my pillar and my best friend. So this was a very difficult decision though for her to send me abroad, and she did had her she did had some things that she thought initially that I wouldn't be able to settle in abroad.
True.
How would I manage my daily activities? And what if something happens? How is she gonna come and what is she gonna do? It's because it's almost like 9.5, 10 hours journey. So
Yeah.
definitely it's not that easy. But I think one of the things that she did said to me, because I was so stern that I wanted to go and do my masters abroad, and
I remember those conversations on
yeah,
how clear you were and why you wanted to go out. I remember
yeah,
those.
I will touch upon that further when we conversate. I think she just said that always remember your roots, just be humble because
Hmm.
you've got this opportunity. And I also feel like when people move abroad and slowly when they start attaining success, one thing that sometimes gets lost in the process is being humble and being like having gratitude. And it's
So
really
true.
important, and never to forget the roots that you've come from, the parents, the culture, the values. And I think that's one thing that really stuck with me. So I think that whole thing gave me like a perspective, and I've realized like I wasn't that spiritual or
Hmm.
culturally more enclosed in India as compared to now that I've become when I came to UK. So I think
Okay.
that's one thing that really stuck with me. I would say the process, I was obviously very emotional when I was coming to UK. I had so many different mindset. I was going through anxiety. There were a lot of other things that I was worried about, especially, how to create a bank account because I've never done that before. Because everything,
True, true.
everything
Lots of
that parents
these,
does do for the kids
yes.
in India, and we've been like, because it's like in at least until like almost for 25, 26 years, mostly in India, parents are living with their children, and there's no concept of children leaving their houses when they're
True.
16 or finding their own job or kind of like supporting the family until they do their entire education and they're settled enough. So I think the whole idea was changing. So I was just in that moment. But obviously, when I landed here, I I obviously go. I had a relative who came to receive me, so that was
That
something
was a
that
huge plus.
a support I could get for initial 5 to 10 days. But even the relatives, because here it's quite different as compared to India. In
Hmm.
India, your relatives will you can stay with your relatives for as long as, but here you can't because they also have their work, they have their
True.
kids, and especially if they're living here for so long, they're quite British in their culture. They're quite different.
True. But tell me one thing. When you mentioned about your mom being anxious, something that, हमें बहुत parents पूछते हैं कि class 12 के बाद sending a child is very difficult. We'll be much more comfortable sending a child after graduation. Now, I
Hmm.
know you can't really compare, but in your opinion, do you think it would have been different if you would have tried to come out after class 12? Your mother have been less prepared, better prepared, or ultimately parents are parents?
I think she wouldn't have sent me abroad because I always wanted to go and do my course abroad.
Right.
I was the kind of kid I always knew what I wanted to do. I always had like this 5 year plan. This has to go this way. And if things doesn't go that way, it used to really affect me until
Hmm.
I started reading psychology and I learned that certain things are never under my control.
Right.
I think like she wouldn't have sent me abroad. I think one of the reasons why parents, are scared of sending their kids abroad when they're about to do their bachelor's is because they're very young. That this
Hmm.
teenage phase that they're going through, and
Correct.
everything seems so nice and everything is going good, and they're just living in their own bubble. I would rather call it a delusion where
Yes.
they think that everything is quite accessible, whereas here it's not like anyone's going to come and help you here. Even if you're like, if you want help, you need to go and ask for it. No
You
one's
need to
going
go
to
and
come
ask for it.
and
Yeah,
feed.
that's a common thread that a lot of our students have said. Ask for help and you'll definitely get it. Whether it's in the university, it's about academics or anything else, but don't expect people to come out and look for you. That's not going to happen. But on this point, Makshi, so I'm sure you would have had classmates in your masters, and when you went for you were pursuing your masters in psychology. I'm sure there would have been in classmates who are international students, but who would have done their bachelors in the
Mhm.
UK or some other country, versus someone like you who's come from their home country for the first time. Did you see any difference in their approach, or did you feel, यार, I am at a disadvantage because they've already spent time here? ऐसा कभी feeling हुई आपको?
I think I didn't feel that disadvantage, but I felt that it would have been much more better if I would have come for my bachelor's. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of the way they teach here is quite different as compared to India.
Understood.
When it comes to India and how I have studied, it's more theoretical and not very
Mm-hmm.
practical. Whereas here, they mostly use like projects and there are
Ah,
researches. The focus is mainly on research. And I think a lot of it that I've learned in psychology and about psychology and field other healthcare fields is through research, where
okay.
you start from the first on from the ground base and you go on building upon that and researching different topics. And I think a lot of that really helps you in terms of thinking beyond and above
Okay.
just books that provide us that theoretical knowledge or definition. Whereas in India, the focus I feel is still mostly on the books, the theoretical
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, which I do understand is important as well on its.
Correct.
But I also feel that practical emphasis, that experience here when they are doing their bachelor's, they've been sent to different hospitals as
Mm-hmm.
part of their curriculum so that they can learn how different things work, what is the mental health framework like, what is safeguarding, what is risk assessment. I hadn't heard of these terms when I was in my bachelor's because everything
Oh,
was bookish. So
right.
certain above bookish, what is safeguarding, what is risk assessment? I had no idea what is health and safety, about the laws, about the legal things, about the acts. What is a mental
Okay.
health act? I wasn't aware of it until I came here. I did my masters, and when I went for like quite internships, I did and my placements, I did understand it's beyond the books. It's about how you communicate with the client, that
Understood.
confidence that you develop. I think that is really important. And I feel like if I would have come here to do my bachelor's, I would have had that strong foundation. And I would have been, because here, not just that, Mandeep, I also feel like the emphasis on research is so much that from the bachelor's itself, the students start publishing their research papers.
Yes.
And I think that's a very important thing. Whereas in India, I do know that we have like a thesis at the end of a semester, but it's never from an idea to publish. It's always to get like marks. I think the focus
Understood.
is on marks. And I think even the parents around also, they also want the kids to focus on marks, but
On
nobody wants to.
marks. Yes.
But here
So
it's not like that. Here we just spend like almost like 5 to 6 months working on this piece of research that we want to do, the topic that we
okay.
are interested in, and the findings that we want to find, and how we can kind of like put this forward, and how this will help the field of psychology or mental health.
Understood. So, Smakshi, I want to pick up 2 points from here. The first one is you would be in touch with your classmates who did bachelor's with you from India, and they also may have done further studies in India. One or two major differences from what you've gathered in
Mm.
what and how they are approaching their masters, or how they approached their masters, and how you have approached your masters. What are the 2 or 3 things that really come to mind?
So most of my friends that I know, they've done their bachelor's from India itself. I have some, obviously, some British people, my British friends. They've done their bachelor's here. One of the things that I feel like the way they approach masters is they knew that masters is not something where they would straight away go into the specialization, because in
Okay,
India it's put it into our brains that after bachelor's, masters is where you go directly into the
correct.
specialization. But I think it's still the that phase where you are still exposed to different obviously you have to choose one field within the
Hmm.
psychology or other subject, whatever you choose, very specific. But then even within that, there are different things, like different diverse options.
Understood.
So I would just give an example. For example, when I came for my master's in clinical psychology, I thought that it's just going to be around how to do like a mental status examination, how to do different kinds of therapies. But when I was doing my course, I realized there are other subjects as well within the course modules, like statistics, like research methods, focuses brain, cognitive psychology, and some different parts of psychology as well were also
Right.
highlighted. So that at even at the master stage, you still have that opportunity to change if you want later on. So I think that
Ah,
thing we don't get in India. If you've already taken masters in counseling psychology, there's no way now you
there's
can go.
no going getting away from that.
No. So I think that is one thing. And also, I feel like people who've already done their bachelor's here, they know how the system works. And they know that even after they do their masters, they have to do other certification courses as well to go further in the field. It's not just you've done a master's and you can just
So
practice
that
as
that concept of continuous learning is
exactly.
better understood.
I think, yeah, the continuous learning development, it's like continuous. You have to keep doing something here, I feel, to
Understood.
be relevant to the field and to be relevant to others. If you want your own practice, you have to keep on doing something. So I think that is one thing I quite saw.
Awesome.
And
Very,
then,
very nicely put. Another thing that I want to touch upon is, like you said, research in your masters, and it takes up quite a bit of time. Now, obviously, there will be some students who are not all that keen on research, and there will be some people who may be keen, but they don't know how to go about it. So, how strong is the support system of the faculty members, or the teaching assistants, to actually help you understand the importance of research, why research, how does it add to your professional development, or is it just something that you're, you know, thrown into the proverbial deep end of the pool कि जी अपने आप कर लो. So what happens there in college academically? How do they support you? How do they guide you? Share a little bit about that.
So here then generally like a master's, because it's like a 1 year. So
Yes.
in India it's a 2 year master. So 2 years is made into a 1 year. So within that 1 year we have 3 semesters. So the last semester is the dissertation. It's called the thesis semester.
Yeah.
So we've got like 5 to 6 months to just work on our thesis, and within that period we all of us have been allotted with supervisors. So they're going to be like 5 to 6 group of people with one supervisor, and then other six with, so there are, for example, if there are 100 students, so every six students will form a group and they will be allotted one supervisor.
Okay.
I would also have a meeting where those 6 members and the supervisor is answering our questions, and we are discussing and we are having a discussion. And I would also have a one-on-one meetings with my
Okay.
supervisor, which I feel is very important in terms of how you're building on that research, because it's a very um rigorous process that you have to do, especially when it comes to calculation, research findings, what are you trying to attain, outcomes. And sometimes you have to also use some statistical tools, and which you've never used
You've never
before.
used, yes.
No, we have never used before ANOVA and MANOVA. And people who obviously struggle with maths, they would definitely would want to do more of those meetings. um
Right.
so I feel like it's really important. Supervisor also gives you a lot of clarity on what you really want to pursue, and how much of it can really value, and how much of it can really help you attain what you really want to attain. And I think one of the things that people have to be mindful of is chat GPT. And I say it again and again, you can't use it.
You can't,
Like,
obviously.
you can't use it, and it's very easy to detect. And from the beginning of the course we were told that all of our assignments were will be going through Turnitin, which can
Mm-hmm.
detect AI. And if it's below, it should always be below 2%. So if it's above 2%, there would be a grade cut.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know people who have tried to like do their thesis via chat GPT and they failed. So I would always say that it's your piece of work, and this is the time that you need to relax, think what you really want to do. If that's something that it aligns with, speak with your mentor, speak with your supervisor, see how you can achieve this, see
Mm-hmm.
what are the different outcomes you want to achieve with this research that you are going to take forward. And even if you're not able to find something similar, you can always reach out to your seniors. I know that's very important to build relationships. Um so whoever has passed out within that course, you can always try look for them on Facebook, try to reach out to these people and see if they can help you how you can do your research, because this is like the
Lovely.
most important
That's
part within the course.
really helpful. One point that I want to get your inputs on, Smakshi, as counselors, we've seen over the last couple of years, psychology as a subject is gaining in popularity. We have a whole host of bright class 11 students who are taking up psychology as a subject. Now, reasons could be many. Personally, I feel it's a brilliant subject and it leads to very good career options. But like you mentioned, statistics. India में the thought is psychology as a humanities subject तो जी maths से दूर है. But once you go out to the better universities in the world, you realize there is a critical aspect of maths. What else? What is the advice that you would want to share? Practical tips with a class 10 or class 11 student who will watch this podcast and wants to pursue psychology. What are a few things you'd like to share with him or her, which perhaps you realized after you came into the UK?
I just feel like psychology is, you might find it interesting to read psychology, but to become a psychologist or a therapist, it's a lot that takes. Specifically, empathy. I feel if you're not empathetic enough to put yourself in someone else's shoes, it's very difficult to do your job, be it a carer job, be it any healthcare job. When it comes to psychology in UK, you are going to be dealing with people who have severe mental illness,
Hmm.
who are going through drug and alcohol addictions, who have suicidal tendencies, who are going through abuse, be it domestic violence, be it sexual, be it financial.
Hmm.
It's very important to understand the core principles of psychology, to be trauma informed, which I think a lot of people in India lack. When
Hmm.
I say trauma informed, it does not only means to be to become aware of someone's trauma, but also to be sensitive in the way you communicate with someone who might be going through some sort of mental distress.
Okay.
It also talks about cultural sensitivity, which people in India might find it a bit difficult to understand,
Hmm.
because here you are in UK and it's a diverse culture,
Right.
and they put a lot of focus on diversity and inclusion. It's a very, very big part of United Kingdom, diversity and inclusion, to make everyone feel included. So I think it's
Hmm.
very important to be culturally sensitive in the way you approach people, in the way you talk with people, to be aware, um, to not just focus on someone's body language to what they're saying, but also read between the lines. Um, and I
Okay.
think if someone
Interesting.
is, yeah, so if someone is pursuing psychology, I would say just try to figure out what is that you really want to do through this field. Are you gonna do you want to make an impact on people? Like, I want to do something for the people. I love a care job. Caring, it's passion. You need to have some sort of compassion if you want to take this field forward.
Understood.
Without compassion, there's nothing. Because what is rewarding for me is if I'm able to help someone out when they're going through a mental distress, that is rewarding for me. So you need to figure out if that is rewarding for you as well. And then it makes sense. Why, if you want to really do an organizational psychology field, which is more towards research methodology or working in a organization where you're helping people develop strategies, making sure that the employees are not getting burnt out, providing rigorous trainings on
True.
making sure the environment is psychologically informed. So I think if you want to go through towards that field, then it's a different thing. But
That's a
if you want,
different pathway altogether.
yes, exactly. But if you want to come towards the field of healthcare, if you want to come towards the field of psychology, clinical counseling, health, then you need to really ask what is that you're looking for? What do you want to
Hmm.
do? Like, how do you think? For me, it's about giving something back to community and how this is rewarding personally. So I think that it just comes down to that.
Awesome. I think you've highlighted something. So for young students and their parents who may be considering pursuing psychology, I think what Smakshi has mentioned are some important points. Empathy, of course, stood out, but also understand psychology is a diverse field. There is the medical side of it, but there's the whole
Yeah.
non-medical side of psychology as well. Right. So Smakshi, another thing that I want to touch upon is because when students go abroad, their ability to earn is something which has becomes very important. So fortunately, you've done internships. You also now in a full time job, and you were also mentioning how your visa status has changed. So can you just throw some light on that? And without getting too technical, because you and
Mhm.
I are not experts on the legal aspects of it, I just wanted to share, was it very difficult to navigate, or is there enough support system and you found it comparatively easier to navigate that journey from a student to a working professional?
Mm. Mm, so I would start with financial understanding and awareness. So as of when I was in India, I had no idea about finance. I'll be
Hmm.
very honest. I would just go to my mom and ask for money. And by the time I was also working in India, I would all of the money that I would earn would just go on spending out. But I think what I've realized is when I've come here, I've become more financially aware.
Okay.
And that financial literacy is really important for
True.
one to learn. How to manage your finances is a very, very important thing. So I think when I came here, and I remember my first mindset was like, I have to stop take taking money from my family. I have to do something so that I can support myself in some way. I
Hmm.
know I can't completely support myself while I'm studying, but at least some things, minor things, I can take care of. So I think by the time I came here, I was looking for part time jobs, and I was
Okay.
trying to look something in my field. I think that mindset that you need to find something is
Hmm.
very important, because when you come here, you make friends, and there are people who are from different class backgrounds. There are people who are very rich. There are people who are come from a middle class
True.
background, some from a lower class background who are trying to repay their loans. So you come across a lot of people, and within that thing, and the London vibe is such that when you come for the first time, it's all about parties. It's all about the culture. You want
Yes,
to
that's
explore.
something we hear a lot.
Yeah, and but at the one point, one person also needs to understand if their pocket is allowing them in the first place, and to never forget that what is the purpose why we've come. While we also need to enjoy and network, so there has to be a balance, I
There
would
has to be
say.
a balance, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the mindset that people think, oh, it's very difficult to get a part-time job. I just, to be honest, I'm very grateful. I got a job within a month, part-time, within my own field. So I would
Hmm.
say the preparation doesn't begin when you come here. It begins when you're there, back in India.
Correct. Very
So when I
important
was
point.
in India, while I was doing everything else, and Mandeep sir's team was helping me with my visa, my documentation, I wasn't just sitting idle and just going doom scrolling through my phone. I was actually going on to Indeed, trying to reach out recruiters, seeing if there are part-time opportunities, making my CV, being active on LinkedIn, putting out posts there to highlight myself, what are the kind of services I provide, laying down all the different experience that I have, whether or not it's internships or volunteering. Experience is experience. It doesn't
Correct.
matter whether you're earning or you're not earning. If you've got experience, if you've got skills, you can get a job. That's what
True.
has been my personal experience, I would say. So while I was in India, I was doing all of that. So by the time I came to UK, I had a job. I almost had a job in my hand because I was
Hmm.
already going through Indeed. I was already filling out forms. I was already giving interviews. And I landed a job within my own field. It was not
Awesome.
it was not with adults, but it was with children. I was working with neurodiverse kids who had autism and who had other learning difficulties. So I was working
Right.
with schools in London. So that not just gave me experience around my field, but also how the schools in general work in London as compared to in India.
True.
And I would say the education is far, far, far beyond what we get to learn in India, to be honest.
Okay.
Nothing is, it's not just bookish, I would say. It's
Hmm.
beyond that. There is so much focus on robotics. There's so much focus on technology. There's so much focus on what is the truth. I also feel like even like history, how they put it across, the teachers, it's like they just say it what happened and how they came and they ruled
Well,
over
you're
India.
right. The
They're
the
honest.
education system is very different. So tell me, so you highlighted a very important point, Smakshi. The first internship and being within your field obviously makes it a lot better. And for that, the preparation started while you were still back here. Once you reached there, what kind of efforts went into getting the job after your degree? And now you're working with the NHS, if I know correctly. No.
I'm working with local authority, which is
Okay.
basically it's a government job.
Oh, government. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So I just assumed when you said government earlier that it was NHS. But awesome. So tell
I
us
will
about
come
that
on to
journey.
that as well in some time. We just
Lovely.
only aware of NHS, but there's more to it.
There is, yes. So tell us about
Yes.
that journey. How, from your student to a full-time employment.
When I was a student, while I was a student, this constant thought in my mind used to go, okay, so after my student visa, I'm gonna get my post-study work visa, which is for 2 years, if I'm not wrong. Within those 2 years, I need to get something within my field. If I don't get something within my field, which is I wanted to work with adults who had mental health disorders or diagnosis, I wanted to get that proper experience that I was looking for. And I think the journey has been really tough.
Hmm.
Um, I had to really apply a lot, I wouldn't lie.
True.
To get a full-time job for the first time, I had to apply more than 100 applications, I wouldn't lie. And
Yeah.
I got a lot of rejections as well. I got a lot of interviews as well, and I got a lot of rejections as well. But I think the more I gave interviews, the more confident I've become
Yeah.
in terms of putting myself out there. And when they are interviewing you, they're not really looking for what degree you have or what you have done before. They're trying to look if you are well fit for the job. So most of the questions are going to be scenario based, or
Okay.
they require you to give like a situation. How did you handle that situation? What did you do? Why do you think it's different? How are you doing it differently? So I think that is what the focus is. So sometimes I feel like when we go and we prepare for an interview, we, kind of like just memorize everything and we just go and just
Yeah.
blab it out. And I think
Yes.
that's what they're looking for. They're just looking for how confident you are in whatever you say and how
Mhm.
well suited you are for that job role. Will you be able to work in that environment, because it's really exhausting emotionally as well when you're working with people who are going through all those different kind of mental health disorders, and they not just have mental health disorders, they also have like physical issues in general.
Understood.
um and then are you really aware of the basic laws within UK? I think it's very important if you're coming from for a healthcare field to be aware of the different laws around healthcare, around that system. And I think that's what I felt was a breaking point for me while I was not landing up with any job for almost like 3 months, because I was still doing my part time, but I wasn't getting like my full time job, which I
Yeah.
wanted to do within my field. So I was quite depressed. And at that one point of time, I used to just call my mom and I'll be like, should I just come to India? And then she
Hmm.
was like, just keep on trying, better. You'll get something soon.
Correct.
And I was like, I just thought to myself, even if I go back to India, what am I going to do? Like,
Ah, correct.
this is thought that we say, okay, let's go back to India, but what I'm going to do there as well? Because especially me coming from a field of psychology, nobody in my family, not even my relatives, nobody has an idea of what psychology
What
is. It's
psychology
still
is.
a very vague subject to a
Yeah.
lot of people. As you mentioned before, people still think it's a humanities subject, whereas it's not. It's a
It's
mixture of
not.
science,
Yes.
experience, facts, and events, but very few people know about it. So I feel that was a breaking point, but I kept on applying. I kept on speaking and to people who have been here for so long. I tried networking. I used to go to like events where, for example, BPS, they do a lot of events, British Psychological
Yes.
Society. So I think that really helped me in my membership. I used to go to different events. I used to meet people. I used to greet. I used to probably put myself out there, even if I know that I'm not of the same level as they are, because
Hmm.
they were like psychiatrists, psychologists, and all those people who've been working for like 30, 40 years. I would still put myself out there trying to like say what I want to do, what is the kind of therapy I want to do, what I want to achieve through it. So I think it's very important keep doing that and just keep applying. You would get something definitely. I think it's just consistency. I wouldn't lie. Most people expect to apply like 2 to 3 applications and then you'll get a reward. It's not like
Hmm.
that.
Doesn't
You
happen.
have to be consistent. Not just that, you have to be consistent everywhere. You have to be consistent on LinkedIn. Think of LinkedIn as your Instagram.
Hmm.
As you post pictures every day on Instagram, you need to post something on LinkedIn every day. It can be anything related to what you feel. You have an opinion about something that's going in the society. It can be something like someone has posted something about, obviously within your field itself,
Yeah, correct.
about psychology, about a therapy that's come up, and there are some views. You can repost that as well with your views on.
Absolutely. I think
But
what you're.
you're doing something. You're out there.
Hmm.
You're doing something. You are relevant. And I
But
think reaching out to recruiters via LinkedIn is also very important.
is important. So it's Makshi, what I gather from what you're saying is that your core belief in what you are doing, why you are doing it, and obviously when you go to one of these better universities at a global level, that adds to your confidence. but do not expect the university to hold your hand and open doors for you. You need to
Yeah.
do it yourself. You need to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. You mentioned about the BPS membership. Swachi, I mean, you brought out very well the role of a professional body like BPS, the British Psychology Society. And you're right, these things are helpful. The other thing which I can totally relate to what other students have said. आपने कहा 100 150 जगह you applied. You had kids who've spoken of 300, 400 places where they've applied. And you're right, you do need to go through that rigor. But yes, these figures may sound scary for a teenager or for a parent. And we don't want to leave them with a thought कि यार इंडिया छोड़ के आओगे तो it's all gloom. So what would you say to a 17-year-old and her parents, basis your experience, should they take up the opportunity to study outside India? Is it better to study in India? Final thoughts from you, Smakshi.
I think they should definitely take up that opportunity. Every opportunity is an opportunity to learn and grow from it.
Okay.
And I truly believe in it. I know the figure sounds like that, but it's not unachievable. It's the same. It's not just that in London, it's everywhere as of now. And I was
True.
saying it from a very generic point of view when I said it. In terms of, because the market has been just like that everywhere in the world, not just in
Hmm.
UK, in India as well. But I think the most important thing to realize for parents is that, as in from India, we don't get that support from universities or colleges. Here you have that support from student services.
Okay.
The student services, the student community within the university has a very major role to play. When you send your child abroad, they are there to provide support 24 into 7. There are actually helplines as well, and I was
Wow.
quite shocked to it. If you're going through any sort of distress, or you're stressed about something, or there is this period of inauguration when you are settling in, you can always reach out to people, and there is this 24 into 7 helpline as well within the university itself. So it's all very well accommodated and thought of, that they also know that when the child is coming, it's very difficult to transition from
Hmm.
different culture into a new
Correct.
culture. So I think they keep that all in their mind, and there are student reps that help you out, and you can always reach out to them. A lot of my friends, my experience has been different, but a lot of my friends have ended up with a job within the university.
Lovely.
Yeah, so I think it's just about exploring different things and always asking for help. I think it's very important to ask for help and not to be shy in that moment. And I think that thing would come when the parents would send their kids abroad. And I think the exposure has a really big part to play
Right.
in their personality. And when you send your kid abroad, you would not regret 1%, because the child's personality would really outgrow, and the
Hmm.
person would become so confident in terms of their finances, in the terms of their taking care. They will learn to do the basic skills like cooking, managing, going out, organizing. I'm not kidding, we just kind of
True.
neglect all these things while we are in India, because everything gets
Correct.
done for us. We have maids, we have so much support, everything is just bought to us. But here you learn to do everything from zero. We have
Very
become so,
true.
yeah,
Very
and to
true.
enjoy that. Today I think cooking has become such a big part of me. Like, I enjoy it because it helps me. It's very therapeutically rewarding for me to just come home, relax, and cook. And it's something,
Lovely.
yeah. So I think that those are the things that we need to think about, and I feel there's always support available. In terms of when it comes to university, you have those support systems. You have your professors, you have student reps, you have student services, you have different helplines you can reach to insert certain support. There are always webinars and seminars happening regarding jobs. You can always apply for them. So I think there's always support available. It's just how you take that opportunity. It's just, you need to strive, you need to ask for help, you need to get it, you need to just keep trying. um
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And on that note, Smakshi, I think you've covered a lot of ground from the perspective of a student who's done bachelor's in India. So you've seen higher education, college education in India. You've seen how you've grown into a very confident professional after your master's. You've spoken about some facts which perhaps you don't realize, the practical aspects, working on dissertation, the importance of maths and statistics in a field like psychology. And I think most of all, what I loved, what you just ended with, was that there is a huge support system. The teachers are there, the professors are there, there are dedicated services available. And ultimately, as a parent, you will always be unsure of sending your child out, but it is something that can truly add value to them. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Makshi. It's been a pleasure having you on our show. And I hope that we get to have many more conversations as time goes on.
Thank you, Mandeep. Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. So, in this episode, we saw Samakshi's take on how the approach to education differs in India as compared to the UK. She did speak about the major focus on practical learning, how they look at research, how they look at understanding the complete ecosystem. She obviously brought out the fact that psychology as a subject is something that is growing. There are tremendous career opportunities from it. And she's been lucky. Well, hard work does lead to luck. She mentioned that she applied to maybe over 100 places before she got even an internship. The internship preparation started while she was back here, then her full-time job, and today she's working for the part of the local government. And the support system that is there at every stage, whether it was in college for academics or it is outside college, is available for international students. So all in all, it's an ecosystem that challenges you. It's an ecosystem that does help to bring out the best in you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Overseas Mosaic. Until next time, have a great day. Bye bye.